Hello, great people. The Finnish court has approved the extradition of Biafra restoration agitator Simon Ekpa. Simon Ekpa has been in detention in Finland since November 2024. And since then, Nigerian government have been working with the Finnish government for the extradition of Simon Ekpa. Nigerian government wants him to come and answer charges on terrorism, secession, and other strong alleged criminal offenses. Now that the Finnish court has approved that, okay, Simon Ekpa can be returned to Nigeria to answer the charges, we'll be looking at on this episode what would have gone on between Nigerian government and the Finnish government. How did they relate? And what is the hope of Simon Ekpa in the days ahead? Now, this kind of issue, when it has happened in the past, what are the lessons that we can draw? Then we'll be looking at all this and a whole lot more on this episode with your sure plug, Dr. Omosholadeji. First, what I can tell you from the news of the extradition of Simon Ekpa is that if you look at it very well, Nigerian government would have done a whole lot of work, and that is why I have asserted and I am reasserting that, you see, in Nigeria, the effectiveness of Nigerian security operations is determined by interest. What do I mean by that? You see, in Nigeria, I don't believe that Nigerian government is not like a functional government. The problem is Nigerian government will be functional when it wants to be functional, and it's always functional when its interest is at stake. Nigerian government will be functional when its interest is at stake. And don't forget that the priorities of each government may be different. The priorities of the Jonathan government may be different from that of the Buhari government. That of the Buhari may be different from the Tinubu government. So anything that Nigerian government takes as its priority and as its interest, and the interest of that particular government is at stake, you will see that the Nigerian government, successive Nigerian government, are always performing in that regard. In this case, the Nigerian government under the APC, let me use the APC structure as a whole, believe that Biafra secession is of interest to them, and the Nigerian government has gone all out to make sure that they achieve remarkable success in the extraordinary rendition of Nnamdi Kanu from Kenya, and now the extradition of Simon Ekpa from Finland. So you will see that when Nigerian government wants to be efficient, they are always efficient because they go all out. The same Nigerian government have been unable to arrest Bello Tuji. This Bello Tuji is operating within the territories of Nigeria and West Africa, the bandit, the notorious bandit in the north. But then the same Nigerian government that have not been able to arrest Bello Tuji have been able to work out the modalities for the extraordinary rendition of Nnamdi Kanu, for the extradition of Simon Ekpa. Now, so you can see that it's all about interest for the Nigerian government. And if not that, I don't want this video to be too long, I would have given you no less than like 15 to 18 examples of what I'm saying, that you see the effectiveness of Nigerian security operations is determined by the interest of the government. But let me give you just two recent ones that are related to this particular issue. Now, the Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa, they are seeking restoration of Biafra. We all know what the Buhari government did to make sure that Nnamdi Kanu was brought back to Nigeria. The extra step, some even above the law, that they took to make sure that they get hold of Nnamdi Kanu. That is one. Now, the second one is that of Sunday Igboho. Sunday Igboho also wanted a Yoruba nation. He wants Yoruba people to secede from Nigeria. Sunday Igboho wants Yoruba people to secede from Nigeria. And when he wanted the Yoruba nation, the Buhari government, it was of interest to him that Yoruba people, Igbo people, whether you like it or not, you must be with the current entity called Nigeria. And the Buhari government went all out to make sure that they frustrate the like of Sunday Igboho. It was when Tinubu became the president. Tinubu wasn't interested, apparently, in the kind of like prosecution, or if you like, persecution of Sunday Igboho, and that's why Sunday Igboho is walking free. Now, if another government comes in tomorrow and Simon Ekpa, Nnamdi Kanu's case is not of importance to them, if it's not of interest or priority to them, you will see Simon Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu also walking free. Now, the Finnish court has set July 15 for the extradition of Simon Ekpa. What I can say in that regard is that Simon Ekpa is about to experience one of the worst times of his life. He's about to experience it because the name Simon Ekpa has no good reputation or consideration for any kind of good within the Nigerian military because of some of his orations, some of his actions. Now, especially with the Chief of Defense Staff, Christopher Musa. I've seen a video some time ago whereby the Chief of his Defense Staff, Christopher Musa, was being abused by Simon Ekpa. In fact, Simon Ekpa was even kind of like inviting him to a fight. And now that they are expecting him on July 15th, there's something about Simon Ekpa, which is his personality. And I look forward to your comment if you are an Igbo man as regards the personality of Simon Ekpa. There seems to be this confusing personality in the sense that some Igbo people believe that he's doing the right thing, while some Igbo people believe that he is hurting the Igbo people by the declaration of the sit-at-home order, and that sometimes even the sit-at-home order is even hurting the Igbo people. The Igbo people are entrepreneurs, and now they can't go to kind of like do their businesses. So some of the Igbo people believe that now the Igbo people can't do their business, and some of the people that allegedly kind of like violate the sit-at-home order, some of them are being beaten, some of them are being kind of like molested, some of them are even being killed. So why some Igbo people sees Simon Ekpa as a good man, some sees him as some kind of terrorist of some sort. Now this is where the problem lies for Simon Ekpa. Simon Ekpa does not have the goodwill among the Igbo people, the percentage of goodwill that Nnamdi Kanu has. And that is one problem that Simon Ekpa will be facing. On Nnamdi Kanu, opinions are largely uniform in the sense that most of the Igbo people see Nnamdi Kanu as a good guy that is fighting the Igbo cause, but on that of Simon Ekpa, there is a divided opinion. Some sees him as a good man, some sees him as somebody that was kind of like making life unbearable for the Igbo people that he claims to be fighting for, and that is some kind of like issue on the side of Simon Ekpa. Now, it is of common knowledge that Nigerian government wants Simon Ekpa extradited. Now, the Nigerian government wants Simon Ekpa extradited. Nigerian government would have taken a lot of steps. Let me tell you, and that's why I said at the beginning of this video that if Nigerian government wants something, Nigerian government knows how to be effective. You see, if Nigerian government wants Boko Haram, banditry, all these herdsmen, all these Bello Tunji, if they want it to stop today, they know what to do. They know how to do it. But there is some conspiracy in high places. That is why some of these things keep thriving. And I have told you before that some of these people that are political leaders, they believe in the ideology of some of these extreme groups. But the problem why they are kind of not going after them is because if an Islamic State is eventually achieved, those terrorists will not make them the leader of that Islamic State. And they are currently profiting from the current structure of the Nigerian state. So there is like a kind of like divided loyalty. You are profiting from the existing structure of Nigeria, but then you believe in the ideology of the Boko Haramis, the ISIS, the ISWA. But then if the Islamic State is achieved, they will not make you a leader in that Islamic State. So you will see that Nigerian government, it's of common knowledge that they want Simon Ekpa extradited, and they would have done a lot of work. It is not just that Nigerian government will go to Finland and say, oh, give me Simon Ekpa, and the Finland government will say, okay, take. No, that's not how it's done in international relations. The Nigerian government would have gone all out to convince the Finnish government of why Simon Ekpa must be brought to Nigeria, and to convince the Finnish government is not an easy thing, particularly for a country like Nigeria that has history of human rights abuse. Now, what Simon Ekpa is fighting for, the Biafra nation, dates back to 1967 during the Civil War, and Nigerian security agencies themselves, they have their own record at Amnesty International and some of these global civil societies as regards record of human rights abuses. Then the Nigerian judicial system, the integrity of it, is also called into question. So for a country like that to be able to secure an extradition, it shows that Nigerian government would have gone all out. They would have kind of like unleashed all the international relation and diplomacy machinery that they have, including liaising with an ally country. For instance, if Nigeria is an ally of the United States, I won't be surprised if the Nigerian government have used the kind of influencers in the US government to kind of like liaise with the Finnish government to convince them, or in the UK government, or even in the French government, to convince the Finnish government of why Simon Ekpa apologies have to be extradited to Nigeria. So this thing, it happened, and some people have been arguing that, okay, Simon Ekpa will not be extradited to Nigeria. I just gave you one reason, that, oh, if the international relation and diplomacy and diplomatic talks, if they are right, then the Finnish government will release Simon Ekpa to Nigeria. Now, another reason is that Simon Ekpa is more Nigerian than Finnish, in the sense that Simon Ekpa is of Nigerian ancestry. So if you place Simon Ekpa down now, if you trace his conduct, his character, his orientation, his exposure to life, Simon Ekpa is more Nigerian than being a Finnish. And in that kind of instance, the Nigerian government will have a strong talk, and they may eventually bring Simon Ekpa back to Nigeria, because he's more Finland, he's more Nigerian than Finland, he's more Nigerian than Finnish. His ancestry is Nigeria. And if you look at it, when you are a citizen of a country, you may be the citizen of that country, but there are levels to citizenship. For instance, if you naturalize as a citizen, you cannot compare yourself to people that are ancestrally in the citizens of that country. For instance, now, Omosoladeji is ancestrally a Nigerian. You cannot compare somebody from Pakistan that came to Nigeria to naturalize as a Nigerian. You cannot compare that kind of person to an Omosoladeji who is ancestrally a Nigerian. And the Finnish government will not want to use their taxpayers' money to go all out to kind of like assist Simon Ekpa, because he's even more Nigerian than being Finnish. For instance, let me give you an example. In Malaysia, you find the Chinese, you find the Indians, and you find the Malay Bumiputras. Now, the Chinese came to Malaysia during the slave trade era. The Indians too migrated to Malaysia. Some were taken as slaves, and when slave trade ended, they couldn't return to their homeland, so they had to naturally be regarded as Malaysians. But the real indigenous Malaysians are the Bumiputras. Now, if you have a case in Malaysia, you cannot compare yourself. You, despite being an Indian Malay or a Chinese Malay, you cannot compare yourself to a Malay Bumiputra. So that is how it is. Yes, Simon Ekpa is a Finnish citizen, but then, there are some Finnish citizens that are more Finnish, if I can use that word, than Simon Ekpa. There are Nigerians that are more Nigerians than other Nigerians that naturalize as a Nigerian. Now, it's a done deal for Simon Ekpa, but what I can say is that Nigerian government should write his name in gold. We don't want to see political trial, because that of Nnamdi Kanu have turned into a political trial whereby the case has dragged on from one court to the other to no end, and the political cases have been resolved, times immemorial. So we want to see a speedy trial, and we don't want any kind of human rights abuse. We want the Nigerian government to write his name in gold, so that the Finnish government will not even regret that they extradited Simon Ekpa to Nigeria. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politics with Dr. Omosoladeji. Subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos. See you in my next video. I love you all sincerely.